Okay, welcome back, guys, to the World Championship Series Europe Premier League. As we now move into our winners match, it's going to be Incredible Miracles MVP going up against Liquid Snute.
Yeah, this should be a good one here. I'm expecting a lot of things from this series because, as mentioned before, I've watched a lot of Snute stream, and he looks really, really good against Terran. But I haven't seen him play against Mech on his stream yet. So if we're going to see Mech come out from MVP, which it has to be, then how is Snute going to play against this? Remember as well that the majority of players that play in the second match of the series, of the day, like Snute did, he most likely watched the first one, especially because the likelihood of him going up against MVP could have been quite high in his mind. So he would have had to look at that, had a couple of thoughts on how to approach if he was to play the same style. So we could see, if we see buyout, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Zergling, Bailey, Mutalisk from Snute. If it's against Mech, I'm ready to see what he's going to do.
An interesting map to open things up. Complete deviation from the previous series that we saw in TVZ as we open things up on Polar Night. So good paths down this map you can control with Swarm Hosts, but at the same time,
it's not the best Mech map because I mean, it can be used as Mech, but it's not the best because usually the third base is the third base that you take further away from you. If you take the one that's in a triangular position, which MVP could do, then you're going to get swarmed over really, quite nicely. And overall, it's not the best map for Mech. It could be pretty good if he takes it very slow and cautiously, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm pretty sure that MVP, no matter what the map today, though, is going to play Mech. It's just the better strategy considering the circumstances.
I mean, this technically could be the map where he opens Mech but goes for something like the blue flame play, but at the same time saying that, walling off the natural can be very, very easy. And especially since we've already seen Snute, yes, technically it was against Protoss, but he was very happy to, have a Roach Warren down in place at the right times. Could happily transition that over to this matchup and be able to hold something like that off nicely.
He could. I'm expecting Mech and Swarm Hosts.
Yeah.
Come on! Give me a rematch of game number 1 today.
That was cool.
Like Firekick did.
Like, it was actually cool. I enjoyed it.
And I want to see it because I know that it's going to be a little bit... It's going to be a bigger step in the right direction. I think if Snute was to try to do something similar.
Yeah.
And I want to see the Sport Crawlers. I'd love Sport Crawlers. There's going to be a lot of Sport Crawlers if that's the case.
They burrow really quick. You can move across the map with them pretty fast.
It's going to build a lot.
All right, let's jump into it. Game number 1, as we have on Polar Night, spawning up to the north position. After previously beating Hasu Obs, it is Liquid Snute. And down to the south, after defeating Vega's Firecake, it is Incredible Miracles
it's MVP. He's so sick. I touched his 4 gold pins.
That's...
remember that? I did that.
I do remember that, actually. Yeah. That was in Korea, right?
Yeah, that was during the Season 1 finals when he was on fire. When he won the Season 1 Europe Premier League, and then he got top 4. And remember, he almost won the entire thing, the Season 1 finals. Yeah. He lost 3 games to 2 to Innovation in the semi-final. Almost.
How does he stay so relevant? It's mind-boggling how he was able to at the time.
MVP is a legend.
Yeah.
He is a legend. 9 StarCraft 2 tournaments over his entire career. 9 tournaments, 9 victories. He's been in more finals, of course. He was in an extra 2 or 3 finals, the ones he didn't win in GSL. But this guy is just... He's a legend. Let's just put it that way.
He is.
Snoot's got his tournament under his belt, though. He did win the Home Story Cup towards the end of 2012, beginning of 2013. And we do see the 11-11 from MVP again. So 11 Barracks, 11 Reactor.
Home Story Cup seems to be Snoot's stomping ground. He took the 2nd place after that during 2013.
Yeah.
All his best results have been at Home Story Cup. And I can understand that. It's a very, very comfortable atmosphere. It's not the same as other tournaments. Players do enjoy gracing that. And we're going to see now how Snoot's going to match up against the King of Wings.
I really hope that we see some good performances from Snute today. Hopefully he can move out. Because, as mentioned in the start of the show, he has been going through a difficult time when it comes to performing. And it's starting to really put a lot of weight on his shoulders. And he's starting to feel the pressure now. Because he's obviously joined Team Liquid. He continued to do well at Team Liquid. And then towards the end of last year, his results just weren't cutting it. And he really was letting it get to him. But hopefully this is a new start for him. It's been a while since we've really seen him perform. And hopefully, I mean, he played at the Aces tournament, but that tournament was so stacked, you can't expect massive things there.
Yeah.
But hopefully in the Premier League is where he can really show his true colors. Because remember, he wasn't even in WCS Europe last year, so...
Yeah, he was in WCS America, right?
Yep.
So, changing regions, not the easiest thing to do, but Snute makes it happen. And what's also interesting about this, whilst the Reapers do enter, is that Snute seems to, have given a lot of respect to his opponent, even though MVP is going to have to battle with latency, etc. He sent his second Overlord down to the bottom right, just in case, there was some kind of, 2 barracks down there for some reason. But... Again, I don't think we're going to see that from MVP, even though he can pull it out in high-octane situations because of that latency.
As the Reaper and as Terran and as MVP, when you see no gas being taken, for me personally, and I'm hoping he feels the same, you say, oh yeah, baby, because you have so much time to just do damage, pull back, damage, because there's not going to be Zergling speed. There's only going to be queens, and you can chip away on these queens with the 3 opening that he's chosen. And for me, whenever I play this style, I love this style. It's just so good against the non-gas because you don't have a timer. You don't have to go back at 6 minutes anymore. He can stay there until much, much longer. And this is where you can start to get damage done. Of course, Snoot's going to have to be very careful not to lose a queen, may even start to bank up a bit of energy for transfuses, because this can get intense.
Yeah, there was nice focus fire there from Snute to try and work away at the weakened Reaper, noticeably their MVP microing that one back, because he knows that that's going to be the focal point of their assault.
Get this.
And he's going to get it.
Oh, already 1 queen down.
That's a good pickup, especially since speed has only now just started.
Yeah, this is really good. MVP doesn't know when speed's coming. Oh, okay, he did see the gas. Never mind.
He did,
so he does know that the speed's going to be done. It's much later. It's like 7:30 or something from this point. But he's got a lot of time. And even, against seeing a late gas, takes a 3rd over there. MVP! Wow. Carry me to heaven.
All right, that's impressive. Normally, we would just see that command center in his main, but as you said, that late gas really does trigger a lot here for him. He's trying to do extra damage. He even feels bold enough to jump into the main to try and get drones, but didn't get any in the end.
So this is going to be... I think he's forgot the tech lab on his barracks, by the way. It should have been like Hellion Banshee, because obviously the Banshees are going to support this. Unless he weirdly builds a Medivac here and tries to drop the Hellions or something.
Could just go for his Viking straight away and go for Overlords.
Yeah, could go for a Viking, but I think he just messed up.
Yeah, he's actually building on the start
he
now.
lifted the barracks to switch over. He was like, I don't have anything on there. So unfortunately the Banshee is delayed here. But this is, if you remember, a similar... Well, it is the same style of how he used to play when he first used Mech and first started using Mech way back when to take the 3rd base, which players like Lucifron and others started to copy from him. He used the Hellions and Banshees aggressively. Hellions versus Lings, Banshees against potential Roaches. But there's 14 Lings on the way now for Snute. Speed is done. The one important thing as MVP here, keep track of the units. If they run around and you don't know they're gone, you're going to lose that 3rd. It's obviously going to get picked up, and you could lose SCVs depending on the position of this.
Yeah, certainly. And Liquid, Snute here is actually keeping an eye, or good eyes, on his opponent's production. So he did see technically that the tech lab was relatively late, but he will have time to prepare for this because he's adding on plenty of queens, going up to 6 already.
I think Snute knows that base is there, by the way, because he sees in the main base there's no command center. Yeah. Unless it's on the ramp or something.
He's moving those Lings into a position that looks like it won't go.
He's like I said, you can't let Lings around like this.
Yeah.
So he has, and he's going to get into both mineral lines. A really, really solid move here from Snute.
Very good. Not only denying a lot of mining time in the natural, but also killing off workers in the main. And this also denies the Banshee from getting over into assault position, which is now buying him time to get Spore Crawlers down.
You always have to try to keep the Lings' attention. You always have to kind of be harassing the 3rd base to keep the Lings around. If they sneak around, then that can happen. And that actually hurt MVP quite a lot, losing SCVs and so on. He still has his 3rd base down really early on, though, so his economy is fantastic. It's great. And we're going to see a new stage of harassment coming out from him, but 3 Queens Spine and more Lings, but where are the... Oh, there's not that many out.
They need the units right there and now. Because
yeah, I suppose that without Lings here, you can't really do that much.
Okay, so he's losing quite a bit there. Lost a few Queens, and also the Banshee is causing a lot of problems because he needs now... either Spore Crawlers in the right locations or the Queens to be able to deal with that, but he's just going to try and push it. Oh, no, wall. Okay, very, very nice breakthrough there by MVP. Snute was not able to wall off in time. The Hellions doing a lot of damage, and also there's no Spore Crawler at this base, so this Banshee goes 11 kills. Oh, jeez.
So maybe Snute droned a little bit too much there and didn't have right enough units, because as you can see, he's lost quite a lot. He's lost Queens, he's lost Lings, he's lost Workers.
Resources lost is looking a bit bad here for Snute. The Banshee does fall finally as Snute focuses that down really diligently, but from there on out, MVP's transition on into Mech.
Yeah, at least Snute had a lot of queens though, so he was able to keep Lava Injects up and kind of replenish. He is still at decent drones, and he could get some SCVs here too.
Yeah,
which is always good to try to equalize up again.
Those were not in the best of places, but at the same time now the Hellions should be able to shoo this away with losing for just, minimal losses there. So it was a good defense in the end by MVP, really being on top of positioning. But Snute behind this is looking to try and transition on himself, getting that fourth base up, having those extra guesses at where he can and going onto the Spire.
Yep, so up to the Spire. And that's going to be something which MVP will just have part of his build ready to defend against. 1-1 on the way. Thors will probably come out quite fast from the factory, and the engineering base down for turrets. So from this position, Snute is losing a little bit here when it comes to the economy war, which means MVP will climb up in supplies. You can see a massive difference between the two of them already. But he's switching up his upgrades over to +1 attack. Another Ling run by, but there are Hellions there, I think. So shouldn't do that much. Yeah. Gets one SCV and a mule. That's not bad. And he gets out with all the Lings, so that's a nice little addition.
Every little helps.
Yes.
So,
Tesco.
Yeah. And now this Viking trying to get a few more Overlord kills. It did get quite a few against Firecake, but here in this game, only one so far. So Snute's been good about keeping those alive, at least, and keeping them back at home.
Do you think the MVP can be spread too thin here to deal with like 12 Mutalisks? Or is he going to be okay?
I think with the lead he has right now, I think he'll be okay. As long as he has the missile turrets in the right spots in his main and then positions his army kind of in the middle and just covers his both sides, he should be all right, I feel. How do you feel about it?
I think he should be fine.
Yeah. It seems pretty good. His setup seems pretty good.
No Roach Warren, by the way, or Infestation Pit yet. I think the Infestation Pit will be the next structure, because I think he'll start to look towards Swarm Host most likely. But it means that he could be in danger if an attack was to come. You can't defend with just Zerglings and Mutalisks against Hellbats, Hellions with Blue Flame and good upgrades, and Thors for the Mutalisks. But a lot of expansions coming in for Snute is going to really increase his income. And these type of pushes can be difficult to deal with.
Yeah, especially since I was just not anticipating this. Seeing through this move through with just 2 Thors and a few Hellbats. It's quite an interesting push.
Well, Snute's going to go for an attack himself.
There's only one missile turret there, so it's not exactly the most
He's just going to repair the missile turret. There's not enough Mutalisks. So he's going to have to actually come to meet MVP.
Yeah, these medevacs are going to die pretty quickly. He was trying to focus those down, but now he forces all mining to cease here at this base. And the Mutalisks are going to have a hard time really dealing with these 2 Thors, especially since they got +1 weapons.
Yeah, and the Thor gets 1 hit off in the middle against the Mutalisks, and they're killing off quite a few here too.
They're all clumped up. Ooh, he tries to... Oh, great micro there by Snute to actually divide up the ones that have been prioritized. And those Thors went down much easier than expected.
Was that worth it, though? If he kills off the Hellion, the drones to the top, then yes, but I'm not sure if that was worth it from MVP. That was a lot he threw away.
2 Thors is quite expensive, as are all the Hellbats in terms of production, at least.
And Lings over here.
Nice.
Great move again from Snute. These counterattacks have been really useful from the get-go in this game.
And behind it, he droned up to 71 drones against 64 workers. So as long as he... Because he kept this 3rd base alive over on this right-hand side, I think this is a good standing here for Snute.
Yep, I think so too.
All right, well, ooh, okay, got a few drones just there.
Still a little bit worrisome about only Zergling Mutalisk. The Mutalisk count has to be really, really high, but it's 3 Thors about to pop out with 2 already out as well. Oh, this left base is a bit undefended.
Very much so. Magic Boxing across that top Thor and will be able to bring that down eventually, even killing off a lot of the SCVs. The missile turrets finish up just in time to push that away, but again, losing a Thor and workers, that's a big blow there to MVP.
I think Snute's got a lot of momentum behind him right now with picking off the units that MVP had earlier. Ooh, doesn't want to lose his Mutalisk, of course, though. And he's going to just completely build up on Mutalisks. So this is a position where as MVP, you do not want to move out. You have to play it very slowly. You need to get at least a Thor or 2 inside the main base, because if you move out there, the Mutalisks are going to go in the main base. Remember, the mobility is going to be Snute's friend here in these games. So MVP has to play this a little bit slower now. No more attacks. Start to prepare an army, but also think about defense too.
But during that assault, those mutants were very lucky that +2 had just finished as they left, because if they hadn't, a few of those could have died quite easily too, those Javelin missiles. But now, whoop, bringing down the change a bit. What is it called?
Transformation servos.
There you go. I normally know all the names of these things, but I hardly ever see transformation servos being produced, and there we go. Now that gets sniped out there, so the Hellions are going to be a little bit less versatile for a while.
A few good hits on those. Oh, and two more Thors going to get even more good hits.
Shows how much +2 damage actually does to these guys. Yes, they do have +1 carapace, makes a lot of difference, but it kills off a few Thors.
Hellion run-bys, and the Mutalisk, what are they're fighting they're fighting the Thors.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage that they took. Meanwhile, the Banelings will clean up a few of those Hellbats, but so much damage has been done.
And now this is taking a massive swing in favor of MVP. Snute was doing all right. He was doing pretty good, but now, as you can see, his drone count's gone down to 42.
Oh, he's going to lose this. Ooh, okay.
And the Mutalisk, he lost a lot there as well, which means the Thor Hellion is just going to... When you're going for heavily Mutalisk, you need to keep the count high, because now he's lost his momentum that he had going because he kept on rising and rising the Mutalisk count, dealing damage, being cost efficient. But now, he's going to hope that these Banelings can really get good detonations on these Thors.
Yeah, he did get centrifugal hooks, right? So he can actually roll on forwards pretty quickly and try and catch some of these units.
Spread and the Hellions there.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to actually engage into. Magic boxing, once again, with these Mutalisks, they have to do considerable damage against all of these Thors that are now raining terror upon them.
Just Thors coming. There's two more coming across.
This could be too much. The Lings are going to have to do a lot of work, and indeed they are actually doing already. Hellions also helping out there to try and clean up the Lings, but trade for trade, blow for blow, this works out well for MVP, who has a 4th base behind this, and Mules.
He has double the income, so yeah, this works out better for MVP.
Yeah, he just... It's all right. And the Lings continue to do the job that they're there for, but in the end, with these Hellions reinforcing as well, Snute can't lose all of the gas invested in these Mutas. GG.
GG.
Well, there you go. Game number 1 goes to MVP, and currently he's looking pretty good in this matchup.
He's won 3 games in a row now against the Zergs, and it's just not what anyone's really expecting to play against. And I think that's one of his advantages coming into today's group, is no one really knows how the hell he's going to play. Like we actually discussed with Tilo and Grubby, no one really knew how Genius was going to play in that group. So very similar today. No one really knows what MVP is going to do, but he keeps on making it work.
And second map is Ultrazine Stronghold. All right, here we go. If we have a repeat of what we see from his first series, then it could be quick. But Snute is going to be scouting pretty heavily, I would imagine. Actually, now that I say that, depending on the spawning positions, we could actually even see Pneumatized Carapace come out pretty quickly so that those Overlords are able to get in quick.
It's something that Tilo does a lot when he starts to feel frightened of what could be trying to come his way.
Yeah.
And maybe that's shared across the Team Liquid Zerg team. But we'll find out here as we do go into this one. But I doubt we'll see Blue Flame again from MVP. It's too obvious to try something like that, especially the way that Snute played against Hazobs, expecting a lot of different attacks to come in. I'd be expecting one as well here from MVP. But that was good. That was a good game. Definitely mistakes on both sides, and then depending on who capitalized on that mistake, kind of capitalized on the game, I felt.
Yeah. Well, we'll see now what's going to happen here in game number 2. I feel that because of its big differences from Polar Knight, we could see a wildly different game in terms of how it unfolds with aggression earlier on, of course. But at the same time, now, MVP, I have to agree. I think that the Blue Flame, it's too obvious. But Snute is still going to check. I really do feel Snute's still going to check. He doesn't want that random, like, 1 in a million chance of him saying, yeah, okay, it's good on this map, and then just doing it.
I really like the way that that Snute did try to attempt to play that, because Mutalisk are very, very good if you can build up a good count of them, which he did start to get momentum with the run-bys and so on, slowing MVP down and building the Mutalisk count up. But that one time that he fought with the Mutalisk against those Thors, because he was dealing with the Hellions at the same time, he lost control and track of them. That's when the game just went, whoo, because he lost all of them. He was building up to a really nice count, 5 bases. But with that style, you always have to be on the aggressive, because if the Hellion, Hellbat, Thor attack comes, your Lings aren't going to do much to help out, and then Mutalisk are going to start to get shredded. You need to just run around.
Yeah, and, well, this map does allow that a lot, but the 3 base setup here is very easily defendable. From that point on, it's a little bit less easy to defend for a Mech player who does spread themselves across the 4 bases, and then that 4th's very far away by ground. So, we'll see.
Do you think that Snute can tie it up, or MVP 2-0 again?
I think this is probably a good map for him to tie it up on if he's going to try and go for something more mobile.
But what more mobile? He's only going to play Mech, so...
Yeah.
He's going to play Mech every single game today. I was pretty sure about that.
Oh, yeah. Not sure. Not sure in the end. We'll see what MVP wants to bring.
I think this is Snoot's map.
Yeah?
I think this is going to be Snute because this is a really good map, I think, more so for bio players than Mech.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so big, it's difficult to unless MVP just tries to play out another hour-long game. That's where I would see his Mech be more successful. Timing attacks and stuff like that, I think Snoot's going to be on top of that. I would give this map in favor of Snute if I was to predict a winner.
Well, it'd be nice to see him tie it up. I want to see more games. I had planned in my head, I had envisioned this entire group going a little bit longer than this, even up to this point.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see it like end quickly because I've built this up in myself. I'm like, come on, long games.
It's been a bit too short for me myself as well. These games have been quite short.
So, hopefully some longer games here. Ultrazine strong. I can't believe I'm saying that going into this group, but give us some longer games. It'd be nice. Especially after we saw the first game from MVP and Firecake be very entertaining, very exciting. I don't see 20 battle cruisers normally.
Yeah. Nor do I. MVP could do that here, definitely. But we'll see. He may have a trick up his sleeves like he seems to always have. Remember, this guy's the king when it comes to playing best of fives and above. He knows how to play out a series, even a best of three if need be.
All right. Well, spawning up to the top right-hand corner, we have our red Terran representing Incredible Miracle. Currently 1 game up. It is MVP. And up to the top left-hand corner, our blue Zerg representing Team Liquid. It's Snute.
Okay, let's find out what's going to happen here for MVP. Do you think Snute opens up like just to the map, 3 hatcheries before any spawning pool, just being like, all right, you know what? This guy, or would he feel threatened at the Reaper opening, you think?
Yeah, I think it could feel threatened by the Reaper opening.
I think so too. I think hatchery first, then spawning pool. I doubt he'll try to play to the map size because MVP has shown even before and earlier in this series he wants to open with the Reapers, man.
And he really, really likes this Reaper opener. You're right. And I feel very happy for you more so than anybody, Sean, because you have been talking about this 11-11 Reaper opener back at home for the entirety of WCS Europe, and then MVP comes along and does you proud.
And then he doesn't do it this game, though. Oh. But he does. I mean, the 11-11 is something which Koreans do quite a lot recently. It's not really hit the European scene. I think there's 2 things around 11-11 that the European scene doesn't have. It's 11-11 Reaper openings and 11-11 barracks very often.
Yeah, it's true.
Compared to the Korean scene, they like the 11 Reaper and they like the 11-11 proxy barracks.
Just gets mixed in more.
But I think MVP's playing a small mind game here, which is the fact that Snute wouldn't open up 3 hatchery because of how often he's opened up Reaper. But in fact, he's actually going command center first here. Let's see what Snute does, though, because the Overlord... it's not really going to get there in time to be able to make the decision. So he's going to have to make it before he scouts.
It would be so cool to see him just go for a 3rd hatchery, but there's no way. After seeing the previous 3 games against Zerg, very, very unlikely to say, all right, I am going to call your bluff. Well, Snute, he has to bite the bullet in that spawning pool.
Bluff away. So this is just a strong opening here from MVP. Of course, the command center first. Trying to think which way he'd branch from this. Maybe he'll try Cloak Banshees this time. Remember that opening that he tried to go for was with a slow Banshee as well. Yet was still able to do quite a bit of damage eventually.
He did well for himself. His harassment techniques are very good. And unfortunately for Snute, was not able to handle it. So going into this game, the one thing that's interesting is that MVP even can't really get too much of a read onto what his opponent's doing. By the time this SCV gets around there should be Lings out to deny it, or at least Queens. So maybe he'll spot that there's a lack of 3rd if he goes up there very, very quickly. Because right now, I guess is on the way for Snute. Don't think he'll get to see that. We'll see, though.
What has he seen so far exactly? Just the command center?
Yeah, just the command center. Nothing else for Snute.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have his eyes on that 3rd base in case MVP tries to take that 3rd fast again, because it is pretty greedy. But it was capitalized that Snute did see and also did the run-bys, which is very nice for him in that game. I wonder what Snute has planned, though. If he wants to play a long game, does he try to do some form of all-in against Mech? Overlord drops, Nidus.
Oh, that's one thing that's cool. That Overlord, like mass Roach style and just drop on top of it. I haven't seen that for a long time now that you say it.
It's a very old style.
Yeah. I've seen it on Heavy Rain once or twice. I can't remember who did it, but maybe it was in Challenger. But it's cool. I enjoy it. Sees nothing.
So third base just inside. All right. I like to learn, which is why I'm taking this a little bit slower. I want to see what kind of mech builds he's going to do today. Snute is mining gas still. He could try to throw MVP's timings off, whether it be a fast layer, fast Mutalisk, get in there before the actual Thors and turrets are out.
Yeah.
Stuff like that he could try to do with his faster gas.
Could be good for Roaches if he knows his opponent's going to open up for Hellions.
Yeah, it could be just keep it in gas and then go for double evolution chamber quite swiftly, and then just adding on the 1-1 upgrades quite fast. We'll see what he does with this gas.
He's very on top of his Overlord production as well, so...
It's more queens, yeah. So it looks like it's most likely going to be for the double evolution chamber quite early on in this game, so he can just go... sometimes you see him take out a gas, drone and queen up a little bit more, and then take the gas again, but it seems like he's just going to keep consistent with that first gas that he was mining from.
And off this command center first, super quick transition over to 3 factories. No starport whatsoever, so bit of a change up here from MVP, because obviously in terms of how things open up. And then from there on, Snute doesn't really have full information as to what's going on, so we could see him, if he gets even less information, throw down those spore crawlers, which won't be too useful for now.
Yeah, definitely could be hidden information, but he's already to 4 queens, and he's not going to be that long away from starting his layer either, so maybe he'll feel fine with that. Yeah, 6 queens. Nice and queen heavy opening. Good against Hellions, good against Banshees. We're going to see a safer MVP style this game, so not as greedy. So with the 3 factories, he's delaying his armory, for example, to add on more units here, but it's not enough factories for it to be a form of timing here, I would imagine. I'd be surprised if he went for Blue Flame and stuff. It will probably... Well, actually, I say that and he goes straight for Blue Flame. I was expecting more so to spend his gas on tanks and then an armory, because you don't have that much gas income. But with going into Blue Flame and building 4 Hellions at once.
Oh my.
This is like a bit of a trickery move coming out from MVP, who isn't opening the same as how he did against Firekit with his Blue Flame, but is opening very similar, but later, which in this case could be more deadlier.
This is actually quite crazy. If he continues on full Hellion production from all 3 factories, I imagine he diverts and goes for siege tanks eventually from one of these, but... This is great. He's going to have so many Hellions, Sean.
Snute is not taking any chances here. He's got Lings out. He's got the Roach Warren down too. This is going to be a lot of Hellions.
Yeah.
It already is a lot of Hellions.
It is. Blue Flames not too far from finishing, but he's going to start working away at these queens. Nice transfuses, though.
Yeah.
And they're actually killing off a few of these Hellions, and the reinforcing Hellions are going to get caught.
Yeah, and where's MVP going? To the drone line or back to defense? Where's he going, Claris? Because that will actually tell us a lot.
Oh, he's going back.
All right, so that buys time for the 30 additional Lings to come out. Look at this, though. Snute has got no drones on his 3rd. He was hoping MVP actually went for the 3rd rather than coming back.
Yeah, this is nice play here from Snute so far in game number 2, as, well, he does divert all of this, but now, even with bringing that back, there's still 14 Hellions.
Double armory too, so he's actually moving away from this now. Will go 1-1, has the engineering bait in case Mutalisk were to come a factor in this game, and is starting to go back into regular production, I assume, after this this Hellion wave. But where are the Roaches? They're going to be very important. The ramp block is kind of there.
Lings get melted. And during all of this, we also have some Lings actually killing off some workers at the back. The Roaches, though, trying to hold on strong, will deny those Hellions from actually getting into the main. But poor drones on the retreat out do get killed off.
He hasn't lost that many, though. Only 8.
It's not too bad, especially since the counterattack did some damage at the 3rd.
Yeah, counterattack did damage at 3rd. MVP's not mining from that 3rd. And we go on to the next part of this game. But I would say it was so-so. The unit production almost paid for itself with the drones that they killed and the slow production that Snute set himself up, or slow economy set himself up with 2 build units. And it is kind of equal. Still a lot of Hellions, and tank production has begun, so these Roach and Lings that he could have at the moment aren't going to do too much. And remember that the layer was skipped for quite a long time in this game.
Oh, that one queen at the ramp, super important. And no, it lets a few of these Hellions through. 1 or 2 of them get killed off. They did block for a while, trying to throw down an evolution chamber in the mineral line to block all these Hellions off. They get a few workers for themselves as sacrifice.
And now you have to start to favor MVP.
Yeah, that's quite a few drones. That's 18 in total. And then behind that is 67 workers to 64. It's not too bad. He's replenished very nicely.
Yeah, he's replenished. I mean, he built 14 or 16 drones while the attack was going on.
Yeah.
He had the units to deal with it. They just weren't in the right area. So he didn't add on more units that he didn't need to use. MVP has a starport coming in. He has 1-1 not too far away from finishing and is on 5 factories. Is defensively set up in case of a counterattack from Snute. But what is Snute's main choice of strategy and unit composition? Wow, Infestation Pit.
Uh-oh. We all know what this could be.
I'm feeling the Swarm Hosts.
And more so in these positions than other ones, Swarm Hosts aren't too bad, right?
Yeah.
So they can start going to town on them, but you've got to be very, very careful about your opponent's mobility factor in the Terran, which is obviously Hellions transition to Hellions, not Hellbats.
Yeah.
Which can go for counterattacks around the long way.
2-2 on the way, as well as a starport with a reactor here. Couple of medivacs maybe? Is he trying to aim towards moving out with 2-2? Couple of medivacs for the Hellbats?
Could do.
Maybe.
Could also want Vikings if he's anticipating a Spire coming up. And he drops the scan and sees the Infestation Pit as well as the Spire.
Sees both, but the Spire's late. I wonder what he's going to use this starport for. He's going to go take his 4th base, though, because he knows his opponent is teching up, which is obviously fine to do. Could be also expecting Swarm Hosts. Could be for some just Hellbat drops as well. You know, doesn't necessarily need to be with the army itself.
And he's looking to move out off that scan.
I think he's just going to clear some creep.
You think?
The Swarm Host should be fine to defend this.
Actually, I mean, you raise a really good point. Because the creep's so far pushed out, it's very, very hard for MVP to continue pushing out without going up against Swarm Hosts eventually, right? And he can't really tackle Swarm Hosts that easily with this kind of army right now.
Snute thought about a counterattack, but then didn't want to go for it, just in case the Swarm Hosts weren't enough here. The counterattack would have been great, by the way, but here's MVP. How far is he going here, Kalaris? This is pretty deep.
This is certainly very, very deep. He has to be careful. He does catch one Swarm Host on that left flank, though. The Hellion's going to try and buffer for a lot of this.
This is a beautiful little move out, though. If you think about, with this, as you pointed out with the scan, 2 Swarm Hosts die.
Oh,
he's got to be careful here against this push.
It really prompted him to move out, seeing the kind of how far his opponent's tech was along. And these Swarm Hosts, they're completely left vulnerable.
He's just going to kill him.
Yeah.
He's going to kill the Swarm Hosts.
This is a great little movement now. Even the Roaches from the back really can't do a whole lot. The Locusts now go to town on a few of these units, but there's still too many tanks. Reinforcements coming along as well.
He can scan again. Where is this? Does he have energy?
He must do.
Yeah, he does.
There we go. Bye-bye, Swarm Hosts.
Oh, they're going to
run away.
There's a lot more Swarm Hosts coming in, though. Remember, he's only fighting army versus army at this point. He hasn't reached the economy lines.
But
Snoot's hanging on.
If he killed the 3rd and just ran away, that would be very nice. Or at least a nice start.
Uh-oh, more Swarm Hosts pop, and they die instantly.
Oh, they're rallied. They're grouped in with the other ones that were rallied forwards.
MVP just spots an opportunity and go. I didn't think he'd go for it. I really didn't think he would try to go for this.
There you go,
Look at
GG.
that.
GG, what a timing. That scan, man. That scan, man. Jeez.
I didn't think he would go for it. I was very surprised with that. Wow.
And you know what's even worse for a Zerg at that point at the end? Where you group all your Swarm Hosts together, and then some start walking forwards towards the army, and you're like, no, come back. But
it's such a brave thing to do, and it's such a God thing to do as well. To scan and be like, all right, my time is now. His 2-2 wasn't ready. He didn't have a lot of units. He doesn't know if he's about to be swarmed over by Roaches or anything. Because imagine that. Roaches just get swarmed over. He's like, I'm confident this guy, as you can see and scanned, is going for Swarm Hosts. What happens if that was Mutalisk? What happens if that was a bunch of Roaches? He's dead. Goes for it. Is clinical with that. Picks up a win. Just remarkable.
Perfect timing. Absolutely perfect. And that means now congratulations to MVP for cruising on through to the round of 16.
4-0 in today's games. A lot of people, I'm sorry, I'm actually going to confess. I had doubts today.
There are doubters.
I was doubting today. I was scared. I knew that he'd be playing Mech. I didn't know how good it would be. I was scared. But now he's gone through in first place. And, you know, the king is coming to Germany once again in a couple of weeks.
There's many times where, you know, we see that and we're like, never bet against MVP. 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose. And
He's he just looked like he was playing from Europe. But
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
he's in
actually.
Korea,
Yeah.
and it was an excellent performance from him, which now means it's going to be a fight for second place between the 3 remaining European players.
All right, so join us after the break when we'll find out, unfortunately, who is going to be eliminated first from Group G, as we have our final 2, or last 2, battling it out here for that spot. Will it be Firecake, or will it be Hasuops?